guys, thanks for tuning in to episode 3. Today we interviewed Jessie, who is an entrepreneur with her own energy cleansing soap business, as well as an intuitive life coach. And so today we talked a lot about understanding your body and your mind and how that can help you reach your personal and professional goals, as we do here in this podcast. So can't wait for you to hear it and enjoy.
Welcome guys. This is episode 3 of What the Tech Am I Doing? And today we have Jessie. So Jessie is actually a close friend, a mentor, and actually my senior manager's wife. And she has helped me in a few situations and really helped me grow as a person. And so I wanted to bring her onto the show because we had a session a few weeks ago. And during that session, actually, she helped me break through a few barriers. And since, even people at work have noticeably said, wow, you seem a lot happier and more energy. And I'm typically a happy person with a lot of energy. So I feel like that's saying something. It helped me get to another level. And so I wanted to help share her wisdom with our audience to hopefully help you guys get to another level as well. So Jessie, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me and that amazing introduction. That's so kind of you. And I'm so glad to see your transformation too, by the way. I'm Jessie. Hi, and I'm an intuitive empowerment coach and also the founder of the Soul Clean Company, an online business that sells soaps and bath bombs for energy cleansing. In intuitive empowerment, I help people to get in tune with themselves. Everybody is born with their intuitive ability. And even if you don't think you have one, we all have a different way of connecting with it. And also help you to be more empowered, where there's many areas in our life we may feel disempowered, especially for women. Could be body image, it could be with family or relationships. So I help them to shift up in the empowerment map. So if they feel fear, I'll make sure to shift them up to feel happier or stronger, more confident. So yeah.
Awesome. So what ended up getting you into the life coaching realm of it? And how does that, I know that you talk about your purpose and why you're here and how life coaching fulfills that purpose of yours as well.
Interesting. I forgot about this. When I was in high school, I was already chosen as one of the counselor to help my peers. And I noticed that there were a lot of people, my schoolmates would come up to me and talk to me about their problems. And it was always like a very easy, like I'm an open conduit for them, and they would just be able to tell me about their problems, and I seem to understand them. And I think I also didn't take credit that I too had gone through quite a bit of challenges myself, in my early childhood until now. Now it's getting better, but because I've been through so much, that it gives me the understanding of, what pain is like and what challenges is like in life. So then when I went to school in college, I had a psychology major when I graduated with it. And I also volunteer and work at the Women's Center. So I witnessed a lot of women who has been abused who come in and saw my mentor do a lot of counseling work with them. And I myself had gone through severe depression, just coping with my own childhood. So it really, snowballed, and evolved into this whole coaching business, because I just found that I'm really good at it. I seem to have a knack for it. So yeah, that became it.
That's awesome. And I feel like at the time, I'm sure now you have that perspective looking back, but when we go through challenges and awful scenarios or rough situations, at the time it's not fun. But looking back, you're able to connect to a lot of people in a lot of situations because you've genuinely felt things and gone through that and learned from it. So I think that's something that I try and keep in mind when I'm going through difficult situations as well, is that, something good is going to come out of it. You're going to grow from it. And I think you are a great example of the, end goal there, that you now can relate to so many people and help make their lives better, even if you didn't have the best starting.
Yeah, I think because too, I moved around a lot, and meet a lot of different people from different cultures, different states, different country, people's from different ages as well. So that really helped me, and I think I also grew up in a very unconventional way.
Mhm.
And most of my friends were like, oh, I lived in that house for 20 years. I lived that house since I was a child, and I've never been in the same house for more than 3 or 5 years. So it's been that shows how much I was traveling and seeing other things. I didn't recognize that was a benefit for me now, because now
Yeah.
it helps me to adapt to other people's culture easier. I can understand their language or their accent. So that has been, and now my clients are mostly from all around the world. So that's been helpful.
Yeah, that's so cool. Especially as I feel like now, especially, it's a goal to have all the companies are going worldwide, all the communication is going worldwide. And so at the time, maybe it wasn't fun to move around, but now you understand the flexibility and everything required to interact with people of different cultures,
Yep.
which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's something you think, especially a lot of our viewers are professionals, young professionals in their careers or trying to develop themselves. And because it is kind of tech focused, they might have a more analytical brain. So, how can being more in tune with yourself help them professionally, especially in their careers?
Well, first of all, you're going to be more balanced for sure. Well, we have that left side of the brain, which is more analytical, right? It loves science stuff and reading and know what to do. And then you have that right brain of yours, which is more creative. So we want to tap into that creative part. And being intuitive is just no more different than playing the piano, for example, playing the guitar, and being creative with dance, poetry, writing, and stuff like that. So I recommend people to be more in tune with themselves so that they can be more aware of what they like to do, because a lot of people are so confused, what they like or what they want to pursue. And it could be simple things like, do I want to take that position? Or if they're a graphic designer, do I want to create this design and make it look the certain way? And I think when you are fully connected with yourself, you're also connected with other people. You're more vulnerable, and then the technical part is actually just your way of doing the work.
Yep.
But connecting heart to heart with other people, that takes a little bit more to get deeper and understand, where am I coming from? What's my purpose in this field or this job or in this department? What is my contribution to my colleagues, and how can I make myself useful? So I hope that makes sense.
It does. And I actually didn't think about it in the technical way in terms of how it would help them make decisions. But I always think of it, which is a great point. I always think of it in terms of, the people skills and the managerial is an obvious one to me. And recently we have a development program at work, and we read Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And there's one side, which is knowing yourself, and then managing, being able to understand what you need and how to manage that. And then being aware of other people as well, which is another form of being intuitive, is being aware of how they feel, and then with that information being able to manage them. And I feel like I'm intuitive in the sense where I can understand, am very aware of other people and what I say, how it affects them and how they're feeling that day. So I think that helps in my job a lot, because I have to do a lot of interpersonal communication. But then something that I realized that I was very lacking in was understanding myself, and I would see how I was managing the output through working out, or if I would want to eat dessert or lay in bed, or if I was really happy that day or kind of drained, but I wouldn't understand what came before it and what was causing it. And so that was a really big awakening for me, is that I was like, I'm good in these areas, like I never even paid attention to the self-awareness portion, which has kind of been my focus the past few months, and that's where you helped a lot. So we talked about professionally. Another area would be personally, how being intuitive, and you kind of touched on it, is every company talks about work-life balance, and everyone's trying to push for work-life balance, because if you have better balance, you're a better employee, you produce better work, you're a better person to be around, you motivate people more. So how do you also see it benefiting people's health and personal aspect in balance? And have you had any situations where it's affected you've seen someone health affected or personal life taken back in that way if they weren't as aware of it?
Well, I can definitely talk about myself. When I first, I was actually dealing with PTSD, and I had a lot of nightmares, and there was a lot of heavy feelings that I was hold on to, and talk about feeling drained. You totally get it, right? When you feel angry or disappointed, resentful, all of these emotions are actually at the lower bottom of the map of empowerment. And the map of empowerment is actually, it just tells you like all these different emotions, and all the more negative ones that we call have it's like a smaller number of power. And this is written by a psychologist, by the way, and he determines the energy to the particular emotions. And because they're smaller numbers, it shows like, like when you turn on the dimmer switch on the light, turn it all the way, and you can't see anything in the room. But if you turn it all on, then you can see everything in the room. So it's pretty much like when I was experiencing all these lower vibrational emotions, I couldn't see past anything else except my own fear and sadness and all of that. So I worked on it. I really worked on it. And a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, go for a walk and go for, get your cupcakes and, get a massage and things like that. And while that's great, and I feel like it takes care of certain things, mostly physical, but it comes to emotional, you really have to be honest with yourself. What are you holding on? And a lot of times it has nothing to do with other people. It's just how we're holding on to it and how we're willing to let go of it. So when I was able to let go of it, it really feels like I let go a whole ton of brick, and it's almost like every time I let go of another layer of stuff, I become more productive. I become more vibrant, and I'm clear. I have the clarity. I know what to do, and things just show up for me. And talk about manifestation. It really does. When this clears out, there's no more blockages in front of you. You're no longer seeing it from the filter of those fear, of resentment, or that shame or guilt. So when you take that filter off, oh my gosh, now you're seeing things with so much clarity, you can project that passion of yours into it, and all of a sudden it just makes so much difference.
I love that. I feel like I've noticed that in being able to, I like what you said about not feeling guilt about it. It's like understanding how you feel and being like, okay, I feel like step one is understanding how you feel, and if you can go from there and deal with it, that's great. But even step one is being okay with it and okay with how you feel, and not feeling guilty if you need a day of relaxation, not feeling guilty about it. Because I think even when I would need a day of relaxation, I saw that as a bad thing. And so I wouldn't be productive that day, but I also wouldn't be as productive the next day because I didn't give myself the rest. Where now if I'm like, okay, I'm kind of drained today, I'll be tired, I'll relax, and then the next day I'll be crazy productive because I gave my body what it needed. Whereas I think we always focus on those really highs that you're talking about, where you're getting everything done on your to-do list, and you feel great at the end of the day, and we just try and get as many of those intense days out of ourselves as we can. But I've noticed even kind of all my days have elevated to that level. And then every once in a while, I mean, I'm a person, I still get tired. Everyone does.
Everybody does. I mean, there was once upon a time we actually do things according to the moon cycle. Women's reproductive system actually is also depend on the moon cycle. And there's a gravitational pull towards that as well. And you can see with the ebb and flow, I mean, the low and high tide of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so now with the modern life, we forget about that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you have to predict, oh, when's the next full moon, then I'll do this, you know, but you just know that you too get into, you know, the valleys of things. Sometimes you're at the peak, sometimes you're at the bottom. And just really be honest with yourself, like, where am I at? You know, what am I feeling and why am I feeling that? And a lot of time when people feel like, oh, I feel this hatred toward this thing, or I feel this fear, just know that there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely a reason why you feel that way. And a lot of people talk themselves out of it, like, oh, it's just another thing, you know, oh, it's just another day. But, you know, if it stays with you for like more than 7 days or 2 weeks, you got to address it. You got to look into it and what's bothering you. And again, there's nothing wrong to feeling lower about yourself, you know, and don't shove it away, because it's just like, you know, sweeping under the rug. And it'll show up until you address it, right?
Yep. You'll feel like you're having the same argument, or you always, you know, you'll get over it and then you'll feel it again a few months later and you're like, okay, clearly something's up. So what do you recommend for people when they're in those low states? What tools can they use to understand that and maybe even get themselves out of it, or have it occur less often, as you said, so they get out of that cycle of continuous self-deprecating almost?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you got to feel it to heal it.
I like that.
You know, it's a quote out there. You got to feel it to heal it. You know, if you choose not to feel it and you're always just like showing it away, it will turn out as nightmare. It would turn up as self-sabotaging acts, you know. It could even come out automatically towards friends and family, things that you don't intend to say, you say it, you know. So it will show up somewhere because it just needed to come out. It just needed to be projected out. But if you feel it, you allow yourself to know, okay, I'm not feeling good about this whole thing, or maybe I don't feel good collaborating this project with this person. Why is it? And it'll be good to just journal it out and express yourself. And if you don't feel good about writing, you can talk to a friend or a coach, you know, whoever you trust that has a more neutral perspective on things. That's always a good start. Other than that, you know, meditation really works well too. And, you know, if this is a recurring feeling that you always had, then try to meditate about 5-10 minutes will help you to like just have your center again. If you know that this thing is always a trigger for me, and I'm aware that it's a trigger, and I don't want to, you know, I'm feeling it, but I don't want to get caught up in that whirlpool of things. Just find your center. So, and that works for me. And sometimes really go out for a walk, seeing the greeneries, that also work as well. But I really recommend y'all to like find a coach. And I know you guys in your company has a coach as well. So just talking that out, putting it on the table, letting it be visible for you to see instead of keeping it in your mind. That will also help you to, you know, realize, okay, this is priority and I need to work on that.
Yeah, I like your idea, because even if you don't have access to a coach, but like you said, writing it down, or a trusted friend, someone who is in a state that they can help you and not going to bounce off negative things, but having, as you discuss it and let it out, I think you yourself can kind of bring it to light and just let yourself talk it through. But I think, to your point, my first meditation was with you, and the first meditation was with my sister. She took me to a like full moon meditation, and I hated
Talk about the moon.
I hated it. They had the dongs, and I was in high school or college. And she had done it before, and I remember going home and I was like, you cannot pay me to go back. Like, how do people sit like that for, I think it was 30 minutes or an hour? And it was far out of my comfort zone. And so when you recommended like a few minute meditation, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like that. But now I try like every morning, just sitting with myself even. And I used to be the person that I mean, now that we're work from home, would wake up 5 minutes before my first meeting, get, do my quick little brush my teeth, prep, and then be ready to go. And I never saw an issue with that. I know people always say give yourself time in the morning, but I saw it as like wasting time, because I was like, time is efficient. I need to maximize it. Like, I'm not going to sit around and have a bagel and some coffee and like, to me, that seemed like wasting time. And now even I'll try and set aside, even if it's a few minutes in the morning, or not having my phone for the first 30 minutes of my day, and sitting with myself and trying to do a meditation. But even if I can't get a meditation, doing a body check and being like, okay, how do I feel today? And if some days are, you wake up and you're really excited and want to get the day going, and you're like, okay, wait, like, why am I feeling this way? And then I'll sometimes do look at my calendar mentally and be like, you're set for everything. Like, you're ready. Or even if it's me being annoyed at something, I'm like, okay, why am I annoyed? Okay, that doesn't matter. And moving past it, versus getting halfway through your day, like you said, if you just keep carrying it and then being like, well, now I'm really annoyed at this person from work, and it's not because something they did, it's because something you didn't deal with like a few hours ago. So I really like that idea. And I mean, you could do it any time in the day. Morning, I choose to do that because I think it sets my day well. There's been a few that I've done at night because I'm like, okay, it was a long day.
One of the things one of the things I like to ask myself is, what do I want to experience today? Do I want to experience efficiency, or do I want to experience happiness, or I just want to experience connection with other people? And I also want to mention that, we talk about dealing with the emotions, right? Let's say we have the fear of showing up in the world. Like, I used to have the fear of even being in front of a group of people, whether it doesn't matter if it's public speaking, it just could be a party. And just, and so let's say, if you're dealing with that kind of fear and you're paralyzed by it, and so you realize that, I do have this fear and I don't want to go. And it's not like you are not aware of it. You now that you feel it, so now you become aware of it, and you ask your core self. Your core self is the one that has all the knowing, that comes in with the purpose, that has all the solution for you. So if you connect with your heart and you ask yourself, what would I do in this situation? How can I help myself to not be in fear? What would courage have me do instead of letting fear drive me in my journey? So, and the reason I talk about between the core and the ego self, which is our vehicle, and we talk about that, our body is like the car, and the person in it that's driving, it's our spirit self, or the core self. So if you only have the vehicle, it's not going to be driven. It's not going to go from destination A from one point to another point, right? So you need that person to drive it. And that person is that inner self that's aware of her surrounding, that's aware of her inner conversation that tells you, oh, you shouldn't do this, or you should be more efficient, you should be more productive with your time. That's your vehicle. But the inner self recognizes it like, oh, that's a conversation. And that's what meditation helped with, is that now you become aware of that conversation and you can control it. So, and it's not just like, oh, you got to shut up, don't talk, but have that compassion. Like, yeah, I realize I've been really hard on myself. It's okay. I can take care of it. And I'm adult now, and I can take care of myself. And so in a situation where I was fearful, I asked myself, like, what was the next thing that I could do? And my inner self said to start small. Then to start small is to go to a smaller group of 2 to 3 people. And that was really comfortable for me. Then I pushed myself to go to a bigger group. And then I started doing public speaking. And all of a sudden I forgot about my problem now.
And now if someone saw you, they wouldn't even know.
They wouldn't even. I have a speaking coach too, by the way, to help me find my voice. So I mean, it's work in progress, but I do recognize I have come a long way from that person who is so intimidated by everybody. I mean, I respect all of you guys who are doing such amazing work at Words. And I always consider myself to be this hippie woman, I'm married to an engineer. I'm like, who am I? But I see the value that I bring into life, and I start to respect myself too. And so that's been a huge journey for me to step up and show up for myself and for everybody who benefit from my work. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, so much. Because I feel like, I mean, you said it's, if you compare yourself to engineers, you'd be like, I don't have those skills. Maybe if you have a negative outlook, you'd say, I'm not comparable to that. But looking at yourself holistically, you're like, no, I don't want to be an engineer, nor do I need to be an engineer, but I have something special to bring to the world. And I think that's something that no matter what the person is, looking at themselves and being like, what is that thing that I can bring to the world? And I think you had said, I always have the thing of like, okay, what I'm doing isn't enough. I need to do more. I think one of the things that you really helped me with is like, you have this special thing and everyone has their own unique gift or trait that they're going to bring. And just showing up and, being happy or being that light or whatever it may be to someone is enough. And so I think changing that perspective where I'm like, okay, whatever I do in the day, it's enough because I'm being me and me is enough. And I bring something special to this world and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it a little better. And so I hope if everyone goes about it with that mindset, then you're not comparing yourself to the person next to you because they have a different talent or different gift that they're bringing. Yeah. Exactly. So I like your perspective on that a lot.
I think what is helpful for me too is recognizing what you're good at and what you're not so good at. So when you see what you're good at, what are your talents and skills and your backgrounds and experiences, that's what's formed you to do what you do today. I have coached a doctor and he was experienced in the pediatrician department. So he was really good with kids. But then all of a sudden he switched into aesthetic, which is so far, very different from where he was coming from. Yeah. But then he realized that he was really good with injection. He was really good with helping women with body image, helping them appreciate their beauty and not go too far with, the whatever alteration that they want to do, counseling them and all of that stuff. And so when he recognized all of that, now he feels more comfortable moving forward with his business and know how exactly how to cater to his clients and what he's good at now, he can market that. So all of that information will be very useful, whatever you do, whether it's a job, it's a business, it could be your art or being a mother, how you can see what you're good at with taking care of your kids. And then you can outsource the rest, because we are not made to be good at everything. No. We're good at certain things. So continue to use that. And when you're aware of that, again, I feel like it'll be very convenient for you with job search or being in, doing what you want to do in your job.
Definitely. Yeah. At work, when we first came in, I think actually when I was an intern, they gave us the book Strength Finders, and I really hated it. Actually, I read it and I feel like I'm saying I don't like a lot of things here. I'm normally pretty accepting, but I read it in the first page, and I was still in college, and it said something about Tiger Woods is good at golf and he wouldn't be able to be great at basketball if he wanted to, or dunk the ball. He should stick to golf because that's his thing. And that's how I read it. I'm sure it said it much more eloquently. But I saw it as you can't do, stick to your lane. And for me, I'm like, no, I can do anything I want to do. And it's yeah, you can. But after I took the test is when I actually looked into it a little more, because I saw the test come back and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It tells you your top 5 strengths. And then hearing other people's, I was like, that would never be my strength. And that's a good point, that those are the areas you want to work on, because that's what's going to make you great at whatever you're doing, versus trying to be well, they're really good at that, and that, you know, I'll do that, even if, you know, I'm a 5 out of 10 out of that, where I could be a 10 out of 10 and making much more of an impact if I'm focusing on the things that I'm good at. And that's not saying that you can't do the other things. You can always develop yourself in other areas, but not making those working areas your main focus, because then I feel like that's not going to maybe make you happy every day if you're constantly not focusing on the things you enjoy or the things you're good at.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend people to really, even if it doesn't make sense to you why that gives you joy when you do it, continue to do it, because you will find out why. So like, you know, like me, you know, I was trained, I also did a graphic design degree, and I ended up not doing it, even though I was really good at it. I would graduate, you know, second top 2 in my class, but it was like I dragged myself, you know, I dragged my feet to work every day, even though I did a fantastic job. And I'm not bragging, but I'm just like, wait, you know, everybody was like, you got to do this for the rest of your life. I'm like, no, I can't imagine myself doing that. So even though you may be a 10 out of 10 with that particular skill, but if it drains you, you don't feel you know, that's not your niche, and you can't force it. You got to do something that empowers you, that gives you energy, energize you. And that could even evolve into something else, and you'll continue to find it will just refine as you move along.
Do you have any more tools or things that you'd like to share in terms of elevating to the next level?
Gotta think on this one.
That's okay. I figure before we move on from this topic.
Personally, I like to do some retreat. Like I did a retreat for myself a few weeks ago, and I love, and it's not like a retreat at a spa, it's just like a retreat for myself. Just really sitting down with myself and treating myself as a client and ask where am I at today. And I actually took 5 to 6 hours, and I know some people don't have the luxury, but I try to find a time where you can meditate, you can journal. I love to use some books that inspire you and read through those paragraphs, you know, and see what jumps out at you. So if this is especially useful when there are times where you just feel like, okay, I'm at a fork in the road. Where do I go?
Yeah.
Maybe there's no fork. Maybe it's just like it's just foggy to me and I don't know where's my direction. You know, and so this is a good time for you to just really sit down and recenter yourself and tune into your inner GPS and see what jumps out at you. And maybe you may feel like, okay, I'm really, really foggy. I really don't know how to do this. So then find something that helps you relax. So it could be a 10-15 minutes meditation. It could be listening to slow music. You know, it could be gardening, or just reading a good book. And just allow yourself to replenish. You just fill your cup, so to speak. And then check in yourself again and see, okay, do I have a clear idea now? Do I know where to go? Do I know how to up level? So that will be my suggestion for you. And if you would go through it with a workshop with me, and I've done this workshop in the past before, I would guide them, you know, for this few hours, from like introducing themselves, get into the meditation, finding that core self, and then share it with the group and what's our next action step. That will be the whole you know, container that we play with. Yeah.
What's interesting with your field of work, even, you're not giving people all the answers. You're helping them get to the answers that they kind of already have.
They
and I think
already
that's
have, yeah.
Exactly. And it's interesting because, you know, we'll sit here and depending on, you could go in the negative mindset and be like, you know, woe is me, I don't know what to do. But you help them cross over to the line, like, okay, you do know what to do, you know what you should do, or you know your options. You just, one, need motivation to get there, but two, maybe might need someone to guide you to really figure out what your decision is. But it's so interesting to me that it's like you're just helping them get to where they go. But it's like, I think that's the most empowering thing to me, is that it's like the answers were
It's
within
within
yourself
you.
the whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because in our session, remember you were surprised that I already knew this stuff.
Yeah.
I know the answer to my problems or the issues.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had that voice. I didn't know that I know that. So yeah, a lot of people coming to me like, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do. But I would help them to declutter. That's what I did. And it's declutter. And then find that within your deeper self. And I already see that within you as just as much as you see my strength and my talents, right? I see the same thing in you. We both reflect that light. So I'm just, I could just tell you and say, this is your answer, but you won't believe me.
No.
Yeah. So you've got to do the work, and then you say, oh, now I take pride in finding that answer.
Exactly.
And
I would agree.
It comes out of me. So that's my biggest joy. And every time I see them, like, oh, there she goes. She knows her stuff.
Thank you for being on. I think we had a great discussion, and I hope people were able to take tips out of this and things that they can apply to their life and try and have, that elevating mindset to really level up. And we'll go into the guided meditation, and hopefully this is even something that people can help bring them to that next level, starting off trying to understand themselves and then see where it takes them.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever you prefer to listen to, as well as our Instagram, where you'll find our updates for future episodes. We'll be posting every 2 weeks. We also, as part of this interview with Jessie, filmed a meditation session. It was about 15 minutes, and we're going to post it as a following video and podcast. So please look into that, and we'll see you next time on What the Tech Am I Doing?